My name is Marin Becker. For this PowerPoint voiceover, I chose to summarize a qualitative research study. The study's title is Experiences and Expectations in the First Trimester of Pregnancy, a Qualitative Study. The authors you can see below, and it was accepted on April 5th, 2017. The problem addressed in this study primarily revolves around in utero screenings for fetal abnormalities and how this impacts the everyday experience of women in what their research article calls tentative pregnancies. I'll read below. That a comprehensive screening program for fetal abnormalities like the one in Denmark will promote the practice of tentative pregnancies, particularly in the first trimester, where bodily symptoms are often subtle and there is no tangible evidence of pregnancy. However, women experience early pregnancy, and the impact of prenatal screenings on the experiences of women has not been investigated. The purpose of the study is to explore the everyday experiences and expectations of the first trimester pregnant women in a medicalized context of comprehensive and routine prenatal screenings. I think I forgot to mention that this study was done in Denmark only, in 2 doctor's offices, and then one ultrasound facility were utilized to find the participants. The research question here was not explicitly stated. However, after careful reading, this is what I believe it to be. How do first trimester screenings affect the day-to-day experiences and expectations of women in the first trimester of pregnancy? The background literature is quite extensive for information regarding biological and social dramas of pregnancy, such as infertility, prenatal diagnosis, and premature birth. However, there's growing research on the day-to-day experiences of pregnancy of both the women experiencing the pregnancy as well as the partner through methodological and theoretical focus. This perspective emphasizes the importance of pregnancy as a socially and culturally embedded process. Rather than understanding pregnancy as a biological condition that does something to women, pregnancy must be understood as enacted and achieved through practice. Biologically speaking, pregnancy is an either-or. However, from social science perspective, pregnancies are made to be through cultural and social practices and experiences of everyday life. So there are quite a few variables in this study, the first being a selection bias. This is due to the health professionals informing the women and approaching the women to be in this study. So they could have not approached women they considered to be particularly vulnerable or unfit for the study, making it not representative of the population as a whole. The sample is also self-selected, and there's no information, obviously, on the people who did not participate. The study also consists of women who have a higher education level. Many of the women in the study were not only in the medical profession, but there were some who were doctors and also in other job avenues that were of higher earning and higher education required. Also, no women in this study had any genetic diseases that could have been passed on to the children. None of the children were found to have serious diseases, and this could have increased worry and uncertainty in the pregnancy, which is one of the areas looked at in this study. Also, the interviews relied heavily on self-disclosure. So this is an issue primarily due to the fact that the women could have felt uncomfortable sharing, thought that certain items were irrelevant, embarrassing, or forgot them, or could not put the concepts into words. The methods. So the design of the study was qualitative, semi-structured interviews analyzed using thematic analysis utilizing an ethnographic methodological approach. The setting was between May 15th, 2016, or 2015 and January 2016, with the participants being recruited from 2 general practices and 1 ultrasound unit, and it was performed in Aarhus, Denmark. The population contained 20 first trimester pregnant women, age 21 to 39. 30 women actually responded to the study, but 3 of them dropped out due to scheduling, and then the rest were considered to be not fit for the study due to already having ultrasounds performed and being too late in the pregnancies. Sampling was purposive with 2 general practitioners and then the 1 ultrasound unit, all located in the city of Aarhus, Denmark. Data collection, which I already mentioned, was performed between May 2015 and January 2016. Data collection tool. So interviews were performed in a location of the women's choosing. Most of them were their homes. The interviews lasted between 20 and 40 minutes. They were performed by 2 of the researchers, which I wrote here, both of them having MAs in anthropology and are experienced with ethnographic methodologies. All interviews were guided by semi-structured interview guide with open-ended questions developed by all authors in collaboration, and all interviews were recorded and transcribed for data analysis. Which leads me into data analysis. Thematic analysis was used to identify and analyze patterns in the transcribed data. In line with ethnographic methodology, the material was continuously assessed and analytically discussed during the interview process. All of the material was thoroughly reread to generate the initial codes, and then all interviews were coded using the NVivo 10 software. Here is a table from the study which provides examples of the open-ended questions that were used. The questions, as I stated before, were developed by all of the people involved in the study, but after the second interview, they were reassessed and changed slightly to be even more open-ended and allow for even more information to be expressed by the pregnant women. Here is another table from the study, which is a profile of the study participants. As you can see, many of the women have occupations of higher earning levels and higher education levels. You can see Karen at the bottom is a physician. There are many nurses involved. There's Julie is another physician. And some of them already have children, but the majority of them do not. You can look at that if you'd like to, more in depth. Ethical issues. So in Denmark, qualitative research does not require ethical approval from the National Committee of Health Research Ethics, so that was not done. However, all participants received written and oral information about the study prior to inclusion in it. It was also clearly stated to the participants that participation was voluntary and consent could be withdrawn at any time, which 3 participants did remove themselves from the study. Informed consent was confirmed prior to each interview, and all participants have been carefully, their personal information was removed from the study except that which was approved by them, and pseudonyms were given. So, the results. The analysis resulted in the identification of 5 themes that are all played a part in the women's experiences and management of early pregnancy. Starting with the first, which was a happy secret. Now, I'll read what's stated next to it. Concerns about miscarriage and the health of the fetus resulted in women being very selective in their disclosure of the pregnancy. However, in their minds and in the company of their closest friends, the pregnancy was very present and very real. So a happy secret in this study they describe as the women choosing to only disclose their pregnancies to their closest confidants due to the fear of the child having genetic abnormalities or miscarriage. And many of the women in this study did say, as we will see further down, that if they had genetic abnormalities, they would be likely to terminate the pregnancy. So, fear of losing the child both by choice and uh, just by it happening naturally drove them to keep the pregnancy secret, although this was a happy time in their life. The second theme was information needs and interests. And I will read below. The interview made apparent that the search for knowledge was driven by an attempt to do the right thing or do all that I can to give the fetus optimal conditions and preserve the pregnancy in a unique situation where everyday knowledge could not be taken for granted. Searching for information and advice was a pregnancy practice. Now, in reading the article, they determined that nearly all of the women could state the difference between reliable information and non-reliable information. However, they did use both of them. So they searched for reliable information through the government and studies to drive their choices and their actions. However, they did look for narratives and other information on blogs and such to be able to relate to other women in the same position because they were not, which is the happy secret theme above, they could not share the fact that they were pregnant with many close friends. They also stated that all of the women used the internet as a source of information over books, magazines, etc. Also, that the screening was a milestone. The FTS screening is a milestone. The FTS represents a personal and social milestone, a step towards future parenthood, and a procedure that adds social value to the pregnancy and the pregnant woman. So this is the fetal screening, and in the mind of the woman, this is a large occurrence that really makes them feel the presence of a baby versus before that it didn't feel as real to them. The next theme is the FTS as a screening for Down syndrome. In this section, the study discussed how the different mothers felt about terminating the pregnancy if it was found that they had Down syndrome or other fetal abnormalities. 7 of the women said that they would certainly terminate. 1 said she would not, based on religious values. 6 said that they probably would, but they did not know unless they were in that situation themselves. And 6 had no thoughts about it or hadn't discussed it with their partner, so didn't feel comfortable sharing. And the 5th theme is happy and worried. And I think this is most epitomized by the quote below, and I will read it to you. Well, I do not know because I'm very, very happy pregnant. But of course, I also have some worries. But I think that my happiness clearly overshadows my worries. Well, I actually think that is rather difficult to describe with a scale. Perhaps it would be better if you bend the scale into a U shape. Then it would be very worried and very happy at the same time. And this was said by Meet, I believe, and you can see her profile in the slides prior. And I think this very nicely encapsulates both the happy and worried feelings. The more happy you are, you also tend to be more worried because you're fearful of losing whatever you're happy for. And that's what was discussed in this study as well. This mixture of both extreme fear and extreme joy. Finally is the discussion of the results, and I will read a quote directly from the article. Overall, the results show that the early pregnancy involves continuous intermingling of joy and worry, that medicalizing technologies such as ultrasound and expert knowledge are incorporated into these experiences without defining them in any simple way. Seeking information or eagerly waiting for the FTS is a practice that makes pregnancy real, important, and meaningful in the women's lives. Even before ultrasound confirmation, thus our findings add more nuanced perspective to the concept of tentative pregnancy. While many of the women in the study do withhold pregnancy from public announcement, they do not ignore pregnancy or passively await medical confirmation. Rather, they engage in micro-practices, searching for information, listening to their bodies, that establish pregnancy and give it a place in their lives. So this is talking about how the fetal screenings for any abnormalities don't change the perception of pregnancy in a severe way. It does change it slightly, possibly causing that tentative pregnancy. However, it isn't a concretely established. Next, for the implications on the nursing practice. So there were no implications for nursing practice stated explicitly in this study. However, from careful reading, I believe all of these ideas can be inferred. So it's important to guide first trimester pregnant women to reliable information, making sure that they know where are safe places to seek information that are reliable, that are trustworthy, and where are areas where they can go, blogs and such, to find women who are going through the same things, but take what they say with a grain of salt and go to their doctor and go to the reliable sources of information for concrete information. Also, it's important to be a listening ear. As we've seen, many first trimester women do not feel comfortable sharing that they're pregnant with many people, so it's important to be that listening ear when they come to the doctor's office, because they're not able to share their pregnancy with many people. So the nurse is one of the few people that they can do that with. Next, going along with that idea, is celebrate in the woman's excitement. If she is excited, obviously there will be situations in which women are not excited to be pregnant, but if she is, celebrate in that, because it's a really special time, and as we've seen, few people are able to celebrate her during that period because she's not sharing that with many. Also, ask but do not push. And by this I mean ask about her plans if she will be pursuing a screen for fetal abnormalities. Ask what she will do if those are found, but do not push your opinion on the patient. We are all supposed to be advocates for the patient, and not tell them what to do. And lastly, invite the mother to call the office whenever she has concerns or worries or needs information, to help decrease the worry she is experiencing and hopefully promote more joy than worry. Lastly, here is my reference for the article. I hope you enjoyed my PowerPoint presentation, and have a great day.